everyone. Welcome to The Mill. I'm your host, Rachel Ballatori, the founder and CEO of Mill & Co. I'm so excited to have an incredible woman, a comedic legend, someone I met at a networking event and have just loved staying in touch with ever since, Lisa Stonesifer. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Rachel. It's nice to be here.
Let's learn a little bit more about Lisa. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers. A 28-year veteran of the banking industry, Lisa is a vice president and business banking officer for Newbury Bank. Passionate about community banking, she specializes in small business lending, ranging from real estate and business acquisitions to equipment purchases and working capital. Lisa has held various roles in the financial services industry, including New Hampshire regional manager and licensed sales and service manager. A 2023 graduate of the New England School for Financial Studies at Babson College, Lisa serves as past chair of the board of directors for the Hampton Area Chamber of Commerce and currently serves on the executive board and the board of directors for Experience Hampton Inc. Staying active in the Seacoast, she's a current member of the 100 Seacoast Women Who Care and volunteers for various events such as the annual Hampton Beach Seafood Festival, yum, and did a pop-up depressed cake shop to raise funds for suicide prevention. This woman does it all. She's charitable, she's lovely. What does she not do? But when not working her day job, Lisa and her husband Florian are in the real estate development space, Apex Realty Trust. Having owned numerous residential investment properties, they've built several homes and done home renovations for resale. Apex Realty Trust has also spearheaded a number of subdivisions, including their most recent project, a 7-lot subdivision in Hampton. An important member of the Apex team is their dog. How do you pronounce your dog's name?
So it's Tujik.
Tujik. And does the name have meaning?
Well, it's Ukrainian. My husband's Ukrainian.
Okay.
And it's kind of rover. But it's not really like a specific anything. It just sort of means rover.
Rover.
Yeah.
Oh. And how old is Tujik?
Well, Tujik just turned 1.
Oh, so like baby.
He's a puppy, and he's a Shepsky, which is a German Shepherd and Siberian Husky mix. So he's all the energy and all the fur and all of just everything all around my house all the time.
You're making dog ownership, for those who don't have one, sound so lovely.
No,
Speaking
it's great.
from someone who has 3 of them in her home, yeah, I'm in a perpetual snow globe of dog hair.
Well, and we've never had a dog that has blown their coat before. So dogs we've had in the past have always been short hair, which they just shed perpetually.
Wow.
So the floofs that are currently around my house are tumbleweed worthy.
Someone told me one time if I just collected all the hair and like stuffed it into a pillowcase, I could make a pillow out of it. And I was like, I know you're joking, but I just want you to know, like, I'm going to look into this.
Yeah, I think people do that actually with cat hair, but don't quote me on that. I've heard things of this nature.
I'm too allergic for that. But anywho, enough about hair pillows. Lisa, tell us about yourself. What led you into the field of business banking?
So, it's not something that I actually dreamt of doing. I fell into banking because I needed an account after moving back here from California. And I was like, well, they're hiring. I guess I need a job. So you got to start somewhere. Math, not my favorite subject. And interestingly, you don't have to have a lot of math to be in banking, which I'm sure surprises a lot of people.
It does.
Unless you're in the finance space or accounting or something. But yeah, and then just through pivots and twists and turns and navigating all the craziness, here we are today.
Wow. And California? Yeah. From California?
I am not. Nope. I'm actually born on the seacoast, so I am a native.
You boomeranged, as we like to call it.
Indeed. Yeah. No, went out there for college, spent a little bit of time in the Monterey area and said, okay, probably time to come back.
Okay, let's come back to the Northeast, 9 degrees. Yeah,
yeah,
so good.
I like the curmudgeonliness of New Englanders. Californians are just a little bit too, I don't know, spirited.
Too happy.
For me.
What are they just out there?
I don't. Yeah. I need some anger.
Now, there's a lot of data and research out there. Banking and finance does tend to be a bit more of a male-dominated industry. What's your journey been like as a woman in this field?
Yeah, banking is inherently slow to evolve. So even just thinking about women in the mid 70s that was the first time they were able to have accounts independently of getting permission from their husband is wild to me. And while things have progressed a little bit from there, it's still on the male dominated side, I think, right? Um, but what's nice is that everybody is so supportive in this industry. And even if you have a male mentor or female mentor or those in the C-suite, they want you to have longevity and support your career goals. So that's been nice. Um, I think depending on what role you have too, might dictate whether it's more male or female.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Well, I think you touched on something really important, which is like having mentors, having people in your corner, having people above and below and next to you at
Mm-hmm.
work and outside of the four walls of your job is so critically important. I mean, you and I met at an event for women.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We don't work in the same industry, but to meet each other and be like, wow, we've kind of lived similar lives, we've seen similar things, we've learned similar things, we can contribute. To me, I'm hopeful that as we continue to move forward, that industries being quote male dominated won't be as much of an impact, as much of a negative impact as it once was, because women in these roles are building these like arsenals of other women, other men, other folks that are
Mm-hmm.
supporting them and helping them achieve what they want to achieve.
Sure. I like the way you say arsenal of folks, right? Because it really does take a village to get to the next step of your career path.
Yeah,
And
100%.
you know, you need a mentor, whether it's in your industry or not in your industry. People should have guidance, right? And
Yeah.
there's those who have blazed the path before us.
Yeah. They walked so we can run. Is that the saying?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah,
That
let's do
sounds
that.
right.
We'll get it on t-shirts. So, Lisa, as a VP business banking officer, what's a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so it's a lot of advocacy, it's a lot of computer work, and a lot of phone work,
Well, at least
which is interesting.
advocacy part of that. Tell me more.
Yeah, I don't love the phone part. I'm not a big phone person, but the advocacy is, I get to help people start a business or I get to help people get to their best financial picture, right? So whether they're looking for a resource about where do I go for a mortgage or, how do I start my business? How do I register an LLC? Those types of things, it's all encompassing, right? So being a resource for people, advocating for what they need, whether it's with the bank or through a network of people, right? But that's the best part is advocating for people to get what they want to do, right?
Yeah. Well, and when you're talking to folks that are like, I want to start a business, or I've started a business and now I need money, or I need to go do these things. What are some banking services or financial products that you wish more business owners would know about or take advantage of?
Oh, my favorite subject matter. People need to use organizations like SCORE
Hmm.
um, and Granite State Development Corporation. I think I'm getting that right. These are free services for business owners, and they're going to help with everything from putting your business plan together, getting your projections, but more importantly, making sure that if you have a hobby and you're trying to turn it into a business, sometimes that doesn't translate, and they're going to be honest enough with you to say, maybe this isn't right now, or maybe you should pivot into something else. But those are services and resources that I wish everybody would take advantage of. And banks love it when people work with organizations like that. They know the kind of presentations that we're going to get back in terms of financials and business plans, etc.
I've shared this on past podcasts and in speeches that I've given. One of the mistakes I made when I first started Mill and Co. is I never sought out outside funding. I never sought out like small business grants. I never sought out small business resources. I sat in my little 500 square foot walk up apartment
Mm,
in Manhattan and like toughed it out. And now I got there. I got there. But for the first 2 years, we were not profitable. I mean, by 2019, right before the pandemic hit, I was considering letting it all go. And
hmm
really, that's the impetus behind why I started the Table Talk grant that we run. But I didn't know about that. I didn't know about those resources, and I didn't have
hmm
anyone in my corner who was pushing me to go in those places. But I also wasn't advocating on my own. So I think there's
Yep.
for anyone that's a small business owner or someone who has a dream and a vision, like, don't do it alone. If you
Right?
need something, chances are it is out there and it might
That's
even
right.
be free.
Right. And oftentimes it is free, right? So one of the best pieces of advice I can give people is ask questions. Your question is not too small. It's not something we've not heard before. And as I like to say to people, this is your business. You're not buying a $20 pair of pants at Kohl's,
Yeah.
right? You need to get nuanced about how you're running things day to day and what kinds of resources are out there.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're dealing with small business owners in particular, what are some of their biggest financial challenges, and what are ways that you can help them work through that?
Mm. Well, gosh, there's so many. I would say first and foremost is probably workforce.
Mm,
People are having hiring challenges, and then how do we fill that spot? What kind of wages make sense, and is that something that we can afford as a small business? Do we need to cut the workforce back in order to be able to pay these wages at a higher scale? And then the other things to consider are childcare.
mm,
That's so important for workforce, and maybe you need to offer an option as an employer, or a stipend, or something to help support some of these
mm,
costs, because employee retention is going to affect your bottom line,
mm.
right? And you want to be inclusive, and you want to be able to just put the right product and brand out there. All of these things impact your metrics as your business, so it's important to pay attention.
Yeah. And it's so interesting when I think about bank, no offense. I think like I give you money, you put it in a safe place. Or I need money from you, I apply, you give me money, I pay money back.
That's not a bad way to think of it. It's very close.
Transactional, right? Just like a
Sure,
service provider. But
sure.
how can you encourage business owners in particular to maybe shift that mindset to view banks maybe as a strategic partner than
Mm,
rather than just a transactional service provider?
sure. So I encourage people to interview their bank. Interview your
Mm,
banker. Every bank has the same thing. We all have deposit accounts. We all do loans. Nothing is, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's about who you're going to click with,
mm,
right? It's a partnership, and every banker wants to be able to help you along your path, but it's who do you click with? Who has um, maybe seen some things that you in your industry, or maybe you like a small bank. Go talk to small banks. Maybe you like a large bank because you're a larger company that deals in multiple states.
mm.
Again, I kind of go back to ask the questions, as many as you can.
Yeah. That's so interesting that to think about it, it's you're right. At the end of the day, bank A, bank B, you're offering essentially the same thing, maybe just a different scale. But the person that you're
Yeah.
working with makes all the difference in the world. In fact, I say the same thing to our clients. Like, we are not the only ones that are going to provide you with strategy, content creation, and execution.
Mm-hmm.
But we're the only ones doing it the way that we do because no one is
Right.
Rachel, no one is my team members, no one is
That's
our
true.
contractors that we're working with. And so if you click with us, that makes the relationship so much better. You got to pay the money anyway, right? You want to enjoy
Sure.
the
Sure.
process, or do you want to be like, I don't really like this?
Right? Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's advocating for yourself.
Yeah. But not to put you on the spot, but kind
Not
of,
at all.
is there a particular question that someone has asked you that you were like, wow, what an insightful or important question for you to ask me as you're vetting me as your potential banker?
Hmm. Boy, that is a good question. I would say it's what has my experience been in the local business space? Like, what
Mm,
kind of industries do we support?
mm,
Um, how are we doing special initiatives for either a small business owner versus a larger business owner, women business owned, minority business owned? People want to know that they're doing business with somebody with integrity.
mm.
And it's not just a me level, right? It's the institutional level. They want to know that they're going to have someone go to bat for them and be able to say, yes, we're supporting everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important, especially if you're a small business.
Hmm.
You yourself are local, your customers are local. I 100% see the merit in that being like, well, I need you to know me and what I do
Sure.
and who I'm trying to target. And it's so interesting thinking about how things have progressed, particularly with technology over the last few
Hmm.
years. I mean, even
Huge.
DIYers for financial investing and wealth management has
Hmm.
really ramped up because of things like AI.
Hmm.
How do you see AI or other technology changing the way that banks do business for better or for worse?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a double-edged sword in our industry, I think,
Mm,
right? Because there's privacy laws,
yeah.
and thinking particularly about AI and like the chat GPTs of the world, if
Yeah.
we put something out there into the interwebs, it's for everybody to see, which is that presents a privacy issue for us. But on the flip side of that, people want to work with an institution that has robust technology resources, right? You want to be able to do your banking wherever. Something that's interesting about us as a small institution, we have what are called ITMs. So rather than an ATM, you can tap on the screen and talk to somebody in Newburyport, which is kind of neat. So being on the cutting edge a little bit for an industry that is historically just lagged in every other way,
Mhm. Tiny bit. Yeah.
it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you see on the horizon for business banking? Like what's coming that entrepreneurs, startup owners, people with dreams, what should they be aware of?
Oh, well. So fraudsters are exceptionally prevalent and they're getting more clever. And as much as you think you might be protected, you're not. So if you can lean into those electronic mechanisms that we talked about, whether it's online banking, using an ATM, trying to get away from those old school things is going to protect you better. So it was just we were having a conversation about people writing checks, and do people actually still do that? But
I
it's
did at the dump. You have to write a check at the dump.
well, you do, kind of do to have to register your car too, right? So I mean,
Thanks. Yeah.
there's things here and there. I think I might write 3 checks a year.
Yeah.
But if
Same.
you're still writing checks to pay your utility or for other services,
Yeah.
get away from doing that because checks inherently are an ID theft starter pack. So if
Yeah.
you think about it, it's got your routing number, it's got your account number, it's got your name, your address, it's got your handwriting on there. So thieves are
If listen, if any of
be
that shit
choosy.
gets stolen from me, it's the dump. And those are the best people. So
Well,
like
sure they
please.
are. I'm
But
not saying don't write it for the dump or to register your car. I am saying, just don't rain your checks all over town, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Maybe not at like Hannaford. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I mean, it's there I'm gonna forget the exact details of this story in the company, but there was a story earlier this year about how someone used AI to create a video of
Mhm.
someone else
Mhm.
and them talking, and then they joined a Zoom meeting with someone else and like their
That's
bank or their wealth
creepy.
manager and requested their funds
Mhm.
and then gave them an account to do it into. Someone please fact check me in the comments, but I heard about the story earlier this year and I was like, that is next level
It's
fraudulent
creepy.
behavior. I mean, how do you
Yeah.
the only way to work around that is like you got to have a secret like what's your password? What's the passcode? It's like puppies and books,
Yes.
But like then if you crack that, it's like how do you know if you're visually looking at someone? I mean, you're right. I think people need to have just a bit more hypervigilance,
Yeah.
because technology is improving, which is such a gift. It is
Mhm.
also it's a real threat.
It's a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
There are some small institutions around that are already doing voice recognition. So if you're somebody
Mhm.
that calls into a service center, they're recording your voice. So think about things that you're saying, maybe you use, to your point, some terminology that only you would recognize.
Yeah.
So be careful out
It's
there, kids.
crazy. Yeah. Don't use your dog's birthday for everything.
Right? Mm.
Now, if you weren't in banking,
Mm.
what would you be in? What career would you pursue?
So I love this question. I, for the longest time, wanted to be a drive time DJ. I was obsessed. I was obsessed with the radio. I was obsessed with the camaraderie and the wild things that they would talk about. And I say wild because probably by today's standards,
Yeah.
absolutely not wild. Music is my thing. I love it. And I just, every paper I had to write, I wanted to be a DJ and studied music and all of these things. And now that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Oh
I don't
my,
want to do any of that.
I'm going to share a very hilarious story with you. In a
Yeah,
past life, well before Mill and Co., I was running point for Saputo Dairy Foods, which owns Friendship Dairy's cottage cheese, which is a delicious
interesting.
brand. This is not sponsored. Um, we struck a deal with the Brooklyn Nets and iHeartRadio in New
Ooh.
York,
Hmm.
where my role was to go to New York City, prep 8 different recipes using Friendship Dairy's cottage cheese, but into
Mm,
things that didn't look like cottage cheese, like a buffalo chicken dip, spinach
interesting.
artichoke dip, quesadillas,
Yeah,
lasagna, guacamole, whole bunch
fabulous.
of things. So here I am in New York, right, with gigantic tote bags with pre-made cottage cheese things and the accoutrements and all like the carrots and the dipping and the crackers, and I am schlepping this stuff. It's so effing heavy into iHeartRadio, and I got to go on the air, Scary Jones, and oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Oh my God, he's so big. Elvis Duran. I met
Oh,
Elvis Duran,
sure.
Scary
Oh,
Jones,
that's cool.
and I'm feeding them, literally feeding them Friendship Dairy's cottage cheese dips and things on the show. And then I got to go to a Key Foods in Brooklyn with a couple Brooklyn Nets players and do the same thing. We did like a pop up and had all the foods out there, and we were,
Wow.
you know,
You are well ahead of your time because
isn't that
cottage cheese
hilarious?
is having like a thing right now.
And let me tell you, Lisa, watching Elvis Duran and Scary Jones on air, I was like, I missed my calling. I'm not a marketer. I should
Mm,
be on the Elvis Duran show.
sure.
I should be on the biggest show with zero experience or accreditation to my
Yes,
name. So I love
just
that
pushing
you
cottage cheese.
pushing I'm just peddling the curds. But
Yeah.
I love that that's your I love that's your aspiration. You know what? It's never too late. It's never too late. Did
Um, maybe it is though, because radio is kind of a little bit gone by the wayside.
you
Maybe I
love
like XM.
podcasts,
Oh, that's true. Yep.
right?
Okay. Different medium.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, you never know.
So I always like to wrap up our interviews with what's inspiring you now. Are there any books, podcasts, or any other resources that you're leaning into,
Mm.
you're loving, that you want to share?
I love travel. Always inspired by travel.
Mm.
Um, and I have 3 podcasts that I enjoy. The first one is Prof G with Professor Scott Galloway, and that's kind of this hybridy business analytics slash mixed in with some life, mixed in with a whole bunch of stuff. So I enjoy him a lot. Smartless is one of my favorites. I don't know if people are familiar with that, with the, oh gosh, all of the 3 guys escape me. Sean Hayes, Will Arnett, and Jason Bateman, which
I
they
love
are,
all of them.
they're a scream. The premise is one of them has to invite a guest but not tell the other 2. So it's a surprise, and then they just kind of have a conversation.
That is so funny. What a
It is,
great group of guys.
it's fun. Yep. And then the last one is kind of strange, Mobituaries from Mo Rocca, which the premise of that is people and things who have passed on. So maybe they have a show about 2 people who died on the same day, like 2 celebrity kind of things. So I don't know, one mindless, one sort of interesting, and one chock full of information.
That's that's a very well-rounded plate you have, Lisa. I llove that for you.
Well, thanks. I try to educate myself.
Yeah, good for you. Amazing. Well, Lisa, thank you. As
Oh, it's my
always, it's
pleasure,
a pleasure to
Rachel.
see you, chat with
Indeed.
you, shoot the shit. I love a good giggle every now and then.
All the
Really,
things, yeah.
really appreciate you taking the time to come on our podcast today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me as a guest.
Of course. And for everyone watching, Lisa will be tagged in all of our content. Please reach out to her, connect with her. If you are a small business owner, if you are an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, if you are someone who has a dream and you just want to know how to make it happen, Lisa is your gal. Please reach out to her. Thank you so much for tuning into The Mill. We'll see you next time.